Hello friends. Have you ever looked at a couple and thought, there's no way those two are getting along, and yet, they seem made for each other? That's the enigma of the Capricorn man and Scorpio woman. Earth and water. Structure and depth. A union of two old souls that, on paper, might sound like a corporate merger, but in reality, it's a cosmic collision of intense loyalty, passion, and the kind of power that could either build empires, or shatter walls. So what happens when Capricorn's ambition meets Scorpio's emotional intensity? Let's dig deep into the stars, dissect this dynamic, and discover how love, sex, marriage, friendship, and business unfold between the goat and the scorpion. Because this pairing, it's not for the faint of heart. Love, intensity meets endurance. When a Capricorn man falls for a Scorpio woman, it isn't fireworks and whirlwind romance, it's more like watching the stars align in slow motion. There's a gravity to their connection, a weight that feels undeniable from the beginning, even if neither of them admits it right away. He moves slowly, calculating every step, not out of fear, but from a deep-rooted need for certainty. Love, to him, is not an experiment. It's an investment, one he's only willing to make when he's absolutely sure it won't fail. His approach is reserved, almost stoic, but beneath the surface, he's already envisioning a future with her. The Scorpio woman, however, is no stranger to intensity. She may not reveal her cards immediately, but her intuition is scanning every detail. She doesn't just want to know who he is, she wants to know why. Why does he guard his emotions like state secrets? Why does he look at her like she's the only one in the room and yet say so little? She's trying to see if he's real, if he has substance behind the silence, and if he can handle her emotional complexity. Scorpio doesn't fall for potential, she falls for truth. And once she sees it in him, the dynamic begins to shift. When these two truly open up to one another, a transformation takes place. Scorpio, ruled by the dark intensity of Pluto, brings an emotional richness that most people can't handle. But Capricorn isn't most people. He might not speak the same emotional language, but he understands the value of emotional depth, even if he struggles to express it himself. Through her, he begins to learn that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's strength dressed in honesty. And she, in turn, finds in him a sense of stability that allows her to lower her defenses, possibly for the first time in her life. Their love is not built on constant fireworks, but on a slow-burning flame that refuses to die out. It's the kind of connection that grows stronger with time, weathering every storm, evolving with each shared struggle and triumph. He values her loyalty, her fierce protection of what she loves. She admires his discipline, his ability to turn chaos into structure. Together, they don't just fall in love, they commit to it. Not for the moment, but for the long haul. Scorpio challenges Capricorn to connect, not just plan. She makes him feel things he usually avoids: fear, longing, vulnerability. Capricorn offers Scorpio a safe haven for her sometimes chaotic emotional world. He grounds her without caging her. He doesn't try to solve her mystery, he respects it. That balance creates a love that's both intense and enduring, passionate yet reliable. But even with all their harmony, there's an undeniable undercurrent of power at play. Both Capricorn and Scorpio are naturally dominant signs. Scorpio seeks emotional control, needing to feel connected and in tune with her partner's inner world. Capricorn, on the other hand, wants to be the leader in more practical matters: career decisions, finances, the household structure. These differing approaches to control can lead to subtle and sometimes not so subtle clashes. If they're not careful, small disagreements can turn into cold wars. Scorpio may withdraw emotionally or become possessive when she feels unheard. Capricorn may grow distant or dismissive if he feels emotionally cornered. But here's the beauty of this pairing: neither gives up easily. They're both fiercely loyal and committed to building something real. When they recognize each other's strengths instead of challenging them, they don't just coexist, they thrive. Their love doesn't need to be loud or performative. There's a quiet intimacy between them that feels almost sacred. A look across the room. A conversation without words. They understand each other's silences just as well as their sentences. While others chase fairy tale ideals, these two build a fortress, slowly, deliberately, and with purpose. Over time, this relationship can evolve into something that feels less like romantic fantasy and more like legacy. The kind of love people admire from afar but rarely understand. A love that doesn't scream, but resonates. In rare cases where things fall apart, it doesn't happen dramatically. It's often a slow unraveling, filled with unspoken pain and mutual respect. Because even in heartbreak, there is dignity. Scorpio may mourn deeply but privately. Capricorn will carry the loss like a silent weight. And yet, both will know, they loved with everything they had. But for those who stay, who grow, who face the uncomfortable truths and learn to compromise, this pairing becomes a shining example of what deep, enduring love looks like when built on trust, emotional honesty, and shared purpose. Because Capricorn and Scorpio don't just love each other. They become each other's anchor. And in a world of fleeting connections, theirs is a bond that time respects. Sex, passion with purpose. Let's not sugarcoat it. When a Capricorn man and a Scorpio woman come together physically, it's not just sex. It's alchemy. This is a union of carnal desire and emotional gravity, a merging of bodies that feels cosmic, deliberate, and deeply intimate. There's nothing casual about it. From their very first touch, something unspoken clicks between them. It's not always fast and wild, though it certainly can be, but it's always charged. They each approach physical intimacy with a kind of reverence, almost as if they both know, this could be life-changing. Scorpio, co-ruled by Mars and Pluto, brings heat, mystery, and an intensity that few can handle. She doesn't just want to be touched, she wants to be understood through touch. For her, sex is transformation. It's emotional exposure. It's power exchange. She yearns for total presence, a kind of raw, unscripted surrender that feels like emotional possession. With the wrong partner, this can feel overwhelming or too much. But Capricorn? He's the still, deep ocean beneath the ice. He can meet her in those depths, and hold her there. Capricorn, ruled by Saturn, doesn't approach intimacy lightly. He's not reckless. He's not impulsive. He's deliberate, controlled, and patient. To him, sex is a skill, a responsibility, even a language. While he may appear emotionally distant at first, once trust is built and his partner earns a place inside his walls, he unleashes a sensuality that's both grounding and surprising. He takes his time, not because he's slow, but because he values meaning over momentum. He doesn't aim to impress. He aims to connect, to imprint himself on her soul as much as her body. When Scorpio unlocks Capricorn's hidden sensuality, and she will, because no one unlocks hidden layers like a Scorpio, the result is breathtaking. Their sexual rhythm becomes a ritual, something sacred and secretive, almost like a spell they cast on each other behind closed doors. Every encounter holds layers of emotion, power, and trust. There's an almost spiritual quality to it. The longer they're together, the more attuned they become. A look across the room, a subtle touch, suddenly, the air changes. They don't need words. Their bodies know. This is a bond where dominance and surrender dance without labels. Both can take the lead, and both can give in, depending on the emotional energy in the room. Scorpio might crave deep intensity one night, a kind of emotional possession that's primal and raw. Capricorn, reading her cues with subtle brilliance, provides it, not in chaos, but in calculated waves that leave her breathless. And when Capricorn desires quiet closeness, when he needs grounding from the noise of the world, Scorpio becomes softness incarnate. Their lovemaking is fluid, intuitive, and evolving. But with all this power comes a warning: sex between these two is never just physical. It's emotional, energetic, and psychological. And that's why, when the emotional side of their relationship isn't being tended to, the bedroom feels the shift immediately. Scorpio needs emotional transparency. She needs to feel wanted, not just physically, but soulfully. If Capricorn becomes emotionally unavailable or overly consumed by work, she notices the disconnection right away. She may try to reignite the bond through seduction, through intensity, but if he remains distant, she pulls back. Not out of spite, but out of self-protection. Capricorn, on the other hand, may not realize at first how much emotional nurturing is required to keep the flame alive. He assumes that loyalty and physical presence are enough. But with Scorpio, it's not. She needs to be seen, not just supported. If he fails to engage emotionally, their physical intimacy starts to feel hollow, like a beautifully lit room that's gone cold. And that's when the cracks appear. But when they choose to prioritize each other, to bring emotional presence into every encounter, their connection is unstoppable. Their bedroom becomes a temple, each touch an offering, each kiss a promise. They teach each other the balance between structure and surrender, control and vulnerability. Capricorn grounds Scorpio's emotional extremes, Scorpio awakens Capricorn's sensual core. In their most aligned moments, their intimacy becomes a language of its own. They don't just make love, they build it. Thoughtfully. Intensely. Eternally. For this pairing, sex is far more than desire. It's a sacred agreement. A place where trust is built, tested, and reaffirmed. A space where emotional truths are spoken through skin and breath. Break that trust, and the fracture runs deep, sometimes irreparably. But honor it, and their bond grows into something that transcends physicality. Something eternal. Because when a Capricorn man and a Scorpio woman make love, they don't just share bodies. They exchange power, truth, and soul. And once they find that rhythm, they never go back. Marriage, built to last with caveats. A marriage between a Capricorn man and a Scorpio woman is not built on fantasy or fleeting chemistry, it's built on vision, structure, and a shared commitment to building something meaningful. From the outside, they may seem like a reserved or even overly serious couple, but step inside their world and you'll find a deeply bonded unit, loyal to each other in ways that most relationships only dream of. For these two, marriage isn't just about love, it's about legacy. Capricorn enters marriage with a long-term mindset. He doesn't say, "I do," unless he's already run the mental simulations of life 5, 10, even 50 years down the road. He envisions shared goals, joint bank accounts, retirement strategies, a future carved from intention. He brings to the marriage discipline, loyalty, and a deep-seated desire to protect and provide. Emotion may not be his first language, but commitment is, and he speaks it fluently. Scorpio, on the other hand, comes into marriage with just as much seriousness, but from the emotional realm. She doesn't take vows lightly, either. For her, marriage is a sacred contract of souls. She wants intensity, emotional exclusivity, and complete transparency. She isn't interested in surface-level partnership, she wants to merge. And if Capricorn shows up with the loyalty and steadiness she craves, she will give him unwavering devotion in return. Together, they form a bond that is less about fireworks and more about fortress walls, solid, unshakable, and fiercely guarded. They may not be the most outwardly affectionate couple, but what they lack in public display they more than make up for in private dedication. Their home becomes a sanctuary, structured, secure, often private to the point of secrecy. Outsiders may never know the full extent of what goes on inside, because both Capricorn and Scorpio believe in protecting what's theirs. Capricorn brings the strength of tradition, planning, and financial clarity. He's the kind of husband who remembers the insurance premiums and the mortgage terms, who ensures the pantry is stocked and the future is safe. Scorpio brings the emotional intelligence, the intuitive insight, and the spiritual glue that keeps the relationship emotionally alive. She is his emotional barometer, able to sense even the smallest shifts in tone or mood, and she uses that sensitivity to maintain emotional honesty in the relationship, even when it's uncomfortable. But here's the truth, marriage between these two isn't without its shadows. Capricorn's instinct is to avoid emotional confrontation. He'd rather stay productive, work hard, fix things through action rather than discussion. Scorpio, in contrast, needs emotional exploration. She wants to dive deep, to understand the root of every feeling, every silence. If Capricorn shuts her out or dismisses her emotional cues, she can become suspicious, withdrawn, or even passive-aggressive. Not because she wants conflict, but because she fears emotional detachment more than she fears arguments. This mismatch in communication styles can create emotional bottlenecks. Capricorn may feel overwhelmed by Scorpio's depth, while Scorpio may feel unseen or emotionally abandoned by Capricorn's distance. Left unresolved, this dynamic can slowly create cracks in the foundation of the marriage, not from infidelity or betrayal, but from emotional starvation. The key to thriving, then, lies in intentional vulnerability. Capricorn must learn to open up, to speak the truth behind his silence, even if it feels inefficient or awkward. Scorpio must learn to trust that not every silence is rejection, and that emotional control doesn't mean emotional coldness. When they choose vulnerability over pride, something magical happens, their connection deepens. Their marriage stops being a series of practical successes and becomes a shared emotional journey. This pairing also thrives when they have shared missions. Whether it's building a business, raising a family, or simply maintaining a beautiful home, Capricorn and Scorpio work best when they're co-creating something. They respect each other's work ethic and are both incredibly driven, so long as their energies are aligned. This is a couple that can weather financial storms, family drama, external pressure, because their foundation is rooted in commitment, and they don't quit when things get hard. Yet, with all that strength, they must also remember softness. Scorpio must offer forgiveness when Capricorn shuts down. Capricorn must create space for Scorpio's emotions instead of trying to fix them. In doing so, they move from power couple to soul couple, a marriage not just of ambition, but of healing and depth. And perhaps that's the quiet brilliance of a Capricorn man and Scorpio woman in marriage. They don't chase trends, or popularity, or shallow validation. They build something private and real. Something hard-earned. Something enduring. Friendship, the inner circle. Before the sparks of romance, before the vows and shared futures, there is often something more enduring, more quietly powerful, friendship. And when it comes to the dynamic between a Capricorn man and a Scorpio woman, friendship is not a stepping stone, it's a sacred bond all on its own. It's not about selfies or social events or constant chatter. It's about trust, loyalty, presence, and a mutual understanding that words often can't reach. These two don't form friendships casually. Capricorn and Scorpio both operate with high emotional standards and even higher emotional walls. They don't let just anyone into their world. But when they recognize something familiar in each other, Capricorn sees Scorpio's depth, Scorpio feels Capricorn's unshakable loyalty, a silent agreement begins to form. Not a loud declaration of best friends forever, but a subtle, grounded connection that deepens over time. There are no grand entrances, just a growing awareness that this person isn't going anywhere. The Scorpio woman values authenticity, and in Capricorn, she finds someone who doesn't pretend. He may be stoic and serious, but he doesn't play games. What you see is what you get. That honesty earns her respect faster than anything else. She knows she can be raw with him, speak truths that might scare off others, and he'll stay. Not because he's unemotional, but because he knows how to hold space without trying to fix everything. He's dependable. Predictable in the best way. And that steadiness is everything to Scorpio, who often feels the world in extremes. On the flip side, Capricorn finds in Scorpio something he rarely encounters, emotional courage. She's not afraid to ask the hard questions, to dig into uncomfortable truths, to challenge him in the places where he hides. She doesn't let him coast on surface-level answers. And while this might rattle others, Capricorn respects it. He appreciates being held to a higher emotional standard, especially when it's done with loyalty, not judgment. Scorpio doesn't just want him to open up, she wants him to grow, and she'll never abandon him during the process. Their friendship, once formed, becomes a kind of private alliance. They might not talk every day, but when they do, it matters. Every conversation carries weight. There are no wasted words. No performative enthusiasm. Just honesty, curiosity, and the kind of trust you can't manufacture. They're the kind of friends who remember the little things, who know each other's routines, fears, and unspoken struggles, even if those things are never directly addressed. Capricorn shows care through actions. He'll be the one who helps her move across town, who makes sure her finances are in order, who gives practical, grounded advice when her emotions feel too heavy. He brings logic to her chaos, structure to her storms. Scorpio, in return, shows up with emotional depth. She listens without interrupting. She senses when something's wrong without being told. She'll hold space for his silence and still understand everything he's trying to say. Together, they create a kind of emotional architecture, solid, protective, and impenetrable from the outside. It's not flashy. They're not loud or performative. They may not post each other on Instagram or throw friendiversary parties. But if one of them is in trouble, the other shows up. Every time. No excuses. That's the kind of friendship this is. Rooted in presence, not performance. And because they both tend to be guarded with the world, the fact that they can fully be themselves with each other makes this bond feel even more rare. But don't mistake their silence for distance. Both signs are deeply introspective. They might go weeks without contact, but the second one calls, the other answers like no time has passed. There's no guilt. No keeping score. Just mutual understanding. They know each other's rhythms. Scorpio knows when Capricorn's gone quiet because he's stressed. Capricorn knows when Scorpio's energy shifts before she even says a word. They're in sync, even when they're apart. This friendship also has layers. It evolves. In their 20s, they may be helping each other through identity crises and early career moves. In their 40s, they're each other's emergency contacts and quiet protectors. In their 60s, they're the kind of friends who sit in silence for hours and still feel heard. Time only strengthens their bond because it was never based on convenience to begin with. And if something threatens the friendship, if misunderstandings or external drama creep in, they don't walk away. They confront it. Quietly, privately, and with integrity. Neither of them is quick to burn bridges, especially not with someone they've let into their inner world. Apologies are sincere. Forgiveness is earned. Trust, once broken, can be repaired, because they know what they have is worth protecting. Business, the boardroom power duo. If you're searching for a powerhouse business partnership that combines cold precision with sharp intuition, look no further than the team-up of a Capricorn man and a Scorpio woman. This isn't just a dynamic duo, it's a strategic alignment of two high-performance minds that know how to get things done, build from the ground up, and protect what they create like a fortress. They don't just chase success, they architect it. Capricorn steps into any business venture with the mindset of a CEO. He's grounded, calculated, and unshakably focused on results. Every move he makes is part of a bigger plan. He's 10 steps ahead at all times, building spreadsheets in his sleep and mentally investing in 5-year projections. He doesn't do chaos, he builds structure. He creates the infrastructure, the cash flow systems, the operational rhythm that turns ideas into profit. Now enter Scorpio, the strategist with laser-sharp instincts and a radar for opportunity that no MBA could teach. She doesn't just read numbers, she reads people. She senses market shifts, spots psychological patterns, and knows how to play the long game with subtlety and power. She's not interested in the spotlight but in pulling the right strings behind the scenes. Her business acumen isn't always loud, but it's lethal. She knows when to strike, when to retreat, and when to reshape the entire playing field. Together, these two are a boardroom dream, Capricorn managing the front-end logistics and long-term structure, Scorpio navigating the psychological landscape and seizing hidden opportunities. It's a partnership that thrives on mutual respect and complementary strengths. Capricorn builds the machine, Scorpio programs the code that makes it evolve. She takes risks he wouldn't consider, bold, intuitive moves, and he provides the foundation that turns those risks into scalable, sustainable wins. And while both of them are fiercely independent and prefer to lead, their success hinges on one critical factor: defined roles. If they step on each other's toes, power struggles are inevitable. Capricorn may try to manage everything and dismiss Scorpio's gut instincts as unproven. Scorpio, in turn, may push back emotionally or subtly take control through persuasion and influence. But when they align, when they agree to trust each other's lanes, they stop competing and start building something unstoppable. This business duo doesn't just want a paycheck. They want a legacy. They're not interested in startups that burn out after a viral moment or trendy product. They're thinking long-term impact, generational wealth, a brand that outlives them. Capricorn is patient and methodical. Scorpio is transformative and daring. It's the balance of earth and water, steady enough to last, fluid enough to adapt. Scorpio's emotional intelligence makes her a phenomenal negotiator and brand strategist. She knows what people want before they even know it themselves. She can read a client's hesitation in a single breath or pick up on a competitor's weakness without a single word spoken. Capricorn, meanwhile, is the master of follow-through. He doesn't just close the deal, he creates the system that ensures it delivers. He values efficiency, discipline, and results, and once he locks onto a goal, nothing can distract him. Their communication style may be quiet, even minimal, but it's efficient. They're not interested in long, drawn-out meetings or group brainstorming sessions. They talk in code, in glances, in strategy-laced remarks. There's an unspoken current between them, a mutual respect that doesn't need to be constantly affirmed. They may disagree, and when they do, it's intense, but it's productive. Neither is petty. They're here to win. They also share one often overlooked trait in business: loyalty. Once these two align, they protect each other fiercely. Scorpio will guard Capricorn's reputation with a vengeance, and Capricorn will ensure Scorpio is never undermined, overruled, or overlooked. They function like a fortress, intelligent, formidable, and impenetrable from the outside. If their business does face a crisis, be it financial setbacks, internal betrayal, or market collapse, these two don't panic. Capricorn pulls up the data and rebuilds the plan. Scorpio retreats to reassess and re-emerges with a reimagined strategy. Where others would fall apart, they become even more united. Crisis doesn't scare them. It sharpens them. In the business world, where egos clash and partnerships often dissolve under pressure, the Capricorn man and Scorpio woman stand apart. They aren't just business partners, they're co-architects of something enduring. They bring brains, guts, and strategy to the table, and they don't flinch in the face of hard work or high stakes. Final thought: the cosmic contract. The relationship between a Capricorn man and a Scorpio woman is not for the faint-hearted, nor is it for those seeking something lightweight and temporary. This isn't a romantic fling dressed in astrological mystique. This is a cosmic contract, signed not in ink, but in energy, time, and transformation. It's the kind of bond that comes with layers of depth, silence filled with meaning, and growth that isn't always comfortable, but is always real. Capricorn and Scorpio don't just fall into each other's lives, they arrive with purpose. From the start, there's a quiet recognition, a sense that something different is at play here. He sees in her a woman who isn't intimidated by his ambition, who isn't fooled by his stoic armor, and who isn't scared of the darkness that others avoid. She sees in him a man who won't collapse under pressure, who won't retreat from her intensity, and who offers something she rarely finds, emotional safety built on consistency. This connection evolves slowly, with intention. It's not fueled by infatuation, it's cultivated through mutual respect, challenges, and shared goals. Scorpio brings the emotional fire, the soul depth, the psychic intuition that makes Capricorn pause and feel. She awakens something tender in him he didn't know needed nurturing. Capricorn brings the structure, the clarity, the grounded presence that makes Scorpio exhale. He shows her that not all love burns, it can also anchor. But make no mistake, this relationship demands growth. Both have sharp edges. Both like control. Both come into love with expectations, scars, and deeply rooted ways of being. If either tries to dominate the other, they'll lock horns in a power struggle. But if they meet halfway, if Capricorn opens emotionally and Scorpio trusts steadily, they become not just partners, but forces in each other's evolution. It's a connection built on equilibrium. He holds her when she unravels. She pulls him in when he distances. He teaches her restraint. She teaches him release. And in that dance of opposition and union, they don't just grow individually, they rise together. Their journey isn't linear, and it's certainly not always easy. But in the tension, the lessons, the breakthroughs, they find the kind of love that rewires the soul. This pairing has the power to transform a life. Not just by bringing in companionship, but by challenging both partners to face their deepest truths. It's not the kind of relationship where you stay the same. It's the kind where you become more whole, more honest, more powerful. They may build businesses. They may raise families. They may weather betrayals or breakdowns. But through it all, there's a loyalty, a psychic bond, and a mutual awe for each other's strengths that never fades. Even in silence, they communicate. Even in chaos, they trust. And that's why this isn't just a relationship, it's a contract with destiny. So if you're a Scorpio woman magnetized by the quiet pull of a Capricorn man, or a Capricorn man drawn to the intense mystery of a Scorpio woman, ask yourself. Are you ready to stop playing small? Because this relationship will not let you hide. It will challenge your comfort zones. It will strip away illusions. But what it gives in return is a love that reshapes your world from the inside out. When Capricorn and Scorpio align, they don't just build a connection, they build a legacy. Not for attention. Not for validation. But because the universe put them in each other's path for something greater. And when they get it right, they don't just survive together. They become legend. If this deep dive into cosmic chemistry resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and don't miss our next breakdown of astrology's most intense pairings. Got a sign combo you want decoded? Drop it in the comments, we're listening.